Thank you for taking some
Hello.
time. You're on the road, right?
Yeah, hello from Wilmington, North Carolina.
In Wilmington, North Carolina. Awesome. Are you touring? What are you touring with?
Today is just like a regular singer-songwriter show.
Hmm.
There's a really nice arts festival here, Carolina Pines Festival, and I'm gonna play that tonight.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Well,
It's a nice town, and I feel grateful to like have this random life where I get to travel to like
random
like
places.
random places that are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for taking a minute to talk queer faith.
Yeah.
And we have a queer faith show coming up on Thursday, November 14th. That's like this Thursday at the Parlor Room at 7 o'clock. And you told a story last time at Queer Faith, and you also sang from your queer gospel. Um, and I just was curious, like, we can chat, but I was just curious for people who are curious about what queer faith is. Like, what was your experience of telling a story, and what was your experience of the energy in the room?
I think that was maybe the second one that I went to, and maybe the third. But it's a really unique event because it brings out a bunch of different like strains of community in Northampton, which is really exciting. So you have like a faith community, you have a kind of meditation healing community, you have
Yeah,
a recovery community. Like all those different
yeah,
communities are interested in faith, and all have kind of a wide umbrella idea of what faith can be.
yeah.
So that's what I think is really great about what you're doing.
That's cool.
Um, and I heard of such a wide range of experiences. Some skeptical, some joyful, um, everything in between. And I'm, Northampton's like such a small place that I
Mm-hmm.
think there's never anyone new to meet. And I didn't know anybody who got up and told stories, and it was so great
Yeah,
because it reminded me of the diversity even in Northampton.
yeah. That's crazy that you didn't know anybody. um,
No,
wow.
no, everybody the times that I've been were all new storytellers and new people to me.
Yeah. Um, cool. I'm always surprised at how like it's sort of cliche, but it feels very very loving in the space and like really
Yeah,
supportive in a pretty genuine and not it sounds cliche to say it, but it doesn't feel cliched in the space. It just feels really real. Once the stories start happening, once people start sharing, I just love to see that it opens up like a sort of real presence and gentleness in people. It's one of the things I enjoy.
I think part of why that happens. I think part of why that happens is because many of the people who are getting up and telling stories are not professional people, and by that people who are not professional talkers or professional performers,
Right.
and there's something really great about that sort of beginner's mind and the nervousness really of and the risk
Yeah.
of getting up in front of people like I'm just like an old like crusty lady clown like for years, you know what I mean? So like I in general like don't think twice about getting up in front of people. You have your own experiences as as a person of faith and leading congregations, etc.
Yeah.
But lots of folks who are there are not coming from those experiences, and I think that brings something in the air
Yeah.
that opens up a vulnerability that makes everyone have a stake in keeping the space
Yeah.
a great net for everyone to fall in. But for myself, last time I was there, I did something I had never done before, which was I sort of took the queer gospel, which I've sung hundreds of times in different places, and I turned it into a sermon,
Right.
basically. And I'd never done it before, and I found Queer Faith a beautiful place to do something like that for just this reason.
Yeah.
To do something I'd never done before, to do something that made me nervous, to do something that made me feel vulnerable, and and know that it was an open and welcoming space for that. So imagine like how open and welcome was to do a performance. That also translates to just going and being like an observer and getting to participate in it. You can come in the door. My experience of it is you can come in the door without feeling like there's an agenda you're walking into.
Yeah, yeah, that's good because it's like hard with faith. I think there's a way in which people are or like cautious of the use of the word even and like what's up here like
Yeah,
a little bit like what are
I mean, yeah, it's funny that a word like faith could be a provocation.
yeah
But it is, and putting the word queer in front of it opens that up further.
yeah yeah what were you saying oh the point about the not being professional is really key I think because there had been so many and there still are like a trend of storytelling events happening but different than many of those queer faith isn't a competition like there's not a best story of the night right you don't vote on anything and yeah we're not I don't seek to have the same people tell stories every time the whole point is really to open up to have the people risk telling a story to like discover that there is a queer faith story in them at least one probably many um, and then like to share it and that to risk that so that's a good point.
Yeah, I intend to turn my sermon into a sermon further and a TED Talk or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's not what queer faith is,
Right.
Or for.
Right. Go take it to the TED stage.
Yeah.
So professional.
Or take it like I don't know, take it to my shows or something. I mean, there's a way that it's still, even though we are talking about how it's not a competition and it's a space for people to tell these things. You did also make it at a club. Right. That has a stage and has lights. So there's something really cool in there about bringing something like faith to a place like the Parlor Room.
I absolutely, and that was definitely intentional because, I'm from a church community background. So there's plenty of churches that are willing to offer me free space to host queer faith, right, like in their, fellowship hall. But that's not what I'm after here. And that sets up a barrier that isn't, it's not the space we're trying to create. And yeah, it is. It's important that it's at the Parlor Room, which is an awesome space, and I really love their support of queer faith too. All right, well, you're going to be in the audience this time.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're awesome. That's awesome. We have a host of storytellers lined up. Any words of encouragement for the storytellers, or just any send-off words to people who are thinking of coming to queer faith?
Whether you're on the stage or audience, you're being of service to the community by being and lending your support to the event, and you're maybe being of service to like the person you're sitting next to who might have more questions than you, or who might be looking for a spiritual home, and you get to be there and be part of that.
Cool. Thanks, Erin. Thanks so much for taking a minute. I'm going to stop this recording, but don't hang up.